승부석 2.
한국 프로토스라고 생각할 정도로 충분히 좀 실력 있는 외국 선수인 것 같아요.
He's a very solid macro player and it's hard to break him. Like he'll just do what you do, but he'll do it better.
무리도 안 하고 굉장히 좀 운영적인 면에서 굉장히 좀 특출난 이런 모습을 보여주시더라고요.
Yeah, it's very hard to play against players that do the same thing as you because like you have to do it better than them. So I don't know, I think Stats is one of the harder players to play against. I'd be much more confident against like cheesier PvP players like for example Patience.
저하고 비교했을 때는 그래도 제가 더 잘하지 않을까. 근데 막상 이렇게 부딪혀 보면은 되게 재밌는 게임 나올 것 같아요. 심지어 캐리어 아니면 폭풍왕까지 이런 뜨는 이런 장기전인 게임이 나오지 않을까라고도 생각을 합니다.
I think I could make it to the finals, but it depends on my condition tomorrow. If I'm playing well, I'll probably make it. If I'm not playing well, definitely won't make it. I think there's maybe like a 40% chance that I win.
정말 조금 우여곡절 끝에 4강에 올라오게 됐는데요. 4강에서도 더 좋은 경기, 좋은 이런 결과로 찾아뵙겠습니다.
Mara dances units against Nurtio, so I feel like it's my responsibility to dance my units against a Korean when I win. I'll do my best. I always work hard, so hopefully it'll show tomorrow.
Welcome to the final day of the KeSPA Cup. Guys, we are about to jump into the round of 4 and finals. Thank you for joining us once again. I am Valdez. With me is Wolf as well. How are you doing today, man?
I'm doing great. History could be made tonight. We could see the first foreigner ever to advance to a Korean finals and then potentially win it. The closest we've ever had is Jinro, who twice was in a round of 4 in 2011 and 2010 in the GSL as a foreign player. But in 2016, Neeb, if he wins one best of 5, he will be the first StarCraft 2 player ever to go to a Korean Grand Finals for StarCraft 2.
Yeah, he's got a tough opponent ahead of us. Let's take a look at the round of 16 first, though. Neeb getting out in first place in Group A, Zest getting through as well. TY and Pet from Group B, Stats and Trap from C, Mara and Patience from D. But we are all the way to the round of 4. The semifinals here, Stats versus Neeb is going to be our first matchup, and then TY versus Trap. We do have 3 Protosses and 1 Terran in TY, and TY absolutely destroyed his opponent, his teammate Zest, in the round of 8. Definitely one of the favorites to win the entire thing.
Absolutely. We'll see if Trap can toss an upset there, but it doesn't seem likely based on what we saw yesterday. Stats versus Neeb, I think, will be the closer series, so we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really close. I mean, both of those players are so good in PvP. It's unbelievable. Stats basically does not lose here in Korea, and Neeb, he destroyed Zest when he played against him, and Zest is not looking at his... He's not looking like he's in his final form yet, but Neeb's PvP has always been very, very good, and I'm really looking forward to that first matchup for sure. Both of these guys chatting a lot, actually, both Neeb and Stats. Stats throwing out his English, trying to, chat with Neeb. It's pretty funny here in the chat. Lots of emotes going down as well. And let's take a closer look here. Stats looking for revenge of his teammate as Neeb totally bopped Zest there in the round of 16. And can Neeb beat his role models and go to the finals?
It's going to be tough, but Keck TV does favor Neeb here over Stats with his great performance over Zest. For me, I think I almost slightly want to favor Stats here just because Stats has had a lot to study, and also Neeb in his interview said he wasn't very confident, only giving himself a 40% chance. But this should be a great process for us regardless.
Yeah, so guys, we are going to jump into our interview here, or not the interview, but the opening, the introduction to the whole show. We're going to speak a little bit of Korean, and we will be right back.
흥미로운 경기가 되지 않을까라는 생각이 듭니다. 오늘도 변함없이 저와 더불어서 오늘 여러분들과 함께할 네 분도 소개해드리겠습니다. 바로 울프 발데스 그리고 JYP 존슨 고가 오늘 함께하도록 하겠습니다. 오늘 경기는 아무래도 그 네 명의 선수 가운데 한 명을 뽑아야 되는 단기 토너먼트의 그 최종전인 만큼 굉장히 예측도 하기가 좀 어려운 상황이 되겠는데 이 네 분은 각각 어떤 선수를 예측하는지 한번 만나보도록 하겠습니다. 먼저 울프.
전태양 이긴 것 같아요.
전태양.
네.
이유가 있다면?
테란데 플러스 제일 잘하니까 프로토스 2명 남아 있어서 그런 것 같아요.
자, 아무래도 전태양 선수의 대토스전에 대한 믿음감이 울프가 있기 때문에 전태양 선수의 우승을 좀 점쳤는데 발데스는 어때요?
저도 그렇게 생각해요. 전태현 진짜 많이 연습했던 것 같아요. 그래서 이길 것 같아요.
우리 아까 전에 닙이라고 안 그랬어요?
네,
아까
니브 외국 선수니까
네.
이기면 좋을 것 같지만 전태현 이길 것 같아요.
응원은 하지만 실질적으로는 전태양 선수가 이길 가능성이 높다라는 그런 얘기. 일단 글로벌 중계진 두 분 모두 전태양 선수를 이야기를 했는데 우리는 어떨까요?
저스타이팅 TY
한국말로 해요.
전태양 선수가 이길 것 같습니다. 어제 보여줬던 게 너무
네.
기가
So
막혔기 때문에
all three of us
오늘도
predicting TY so far.
압살하지 않을까라는 생각을 하고 있어요.
Wolf saying he's very good in TVP. I said it seems like he's practiced a lot.
고인규 선수의 고인규 해설은 어때요?
JYP.
저는 닙이 이겼으면 좋겠어요.
그런가요?
네.
Canada
한국말
wants
굉장히
Neeb to win
잘하네요.
전 닙을 좋아하니까요.
because he likes Neeb. Speaking in very, how can I say it? Not broken Korean, but very
어디
slow.
안 좋아요?
He's trying to make fun
왜
of
이래,
me, like my
맨날.
slow Korean, I think.
오래 했더니 며칠 동안
네.
제가
Also, I
안
didn't
좋았대요.
use
그래요?
the most correct
알겠습니다.
form of Korean for television there, so maybe he's making fun of me for that too. But I guess you
Canada
didn't
being the joker of the entire desk for the entire
해외 팬들도
tournament.
마찬가지고 닙의 승리를 점치는 분들도
been a lot
상당히
of fun
많습니다.
so far.
오늘 KTV 그 예측도 역시 김대엽 선수 상대로 해서 닙이 이긴다고 예측이 있을 정도로 그만큼 닙이 이번 단기 시즌에 보여준 것들이 굉장히 많습니다. 그 내용 그대로 과연 경기가 흘러가게
Neeb
될지
being
오늘 첫
the
번째
fan
준비된
favorite
4강전
of
그
Kek
맵부터
TV.
살펴드립니다.
And of a lot of fans here as well. But let's look at the maps here. It is going to be best of 5 for the round of 4 here, the semifinals. Neeb picking Galactic Process first. Of course, Apotheosis and Dasan Station being banned here, two of the most unpopular maps in the pool. But Galactic Process, the other, kind of, outsider map here. And Neeb going for that first. Maybe he's got something planned.
Yeah, he definitely does. I think what the idea here is for Neeb is he wants to actually try to break stats early, get an early lead, because normally what Neeb does is he defends in this matchup and then just plays a better macro game than anyone else, but he also feels like stats and does the same thing he does, just better. So I think at the beginning here in this first game on Galactic Process, he's looking to actually break the mold to a certain extent and do something different to throw off this top tier, consistent Protoss player in stats.
Yeah, it's going to be hard. Even in the interview, he was saying, stats basically just does the same thing that you do, or that I do, talking about himself. And it's very hard to break someone who just does what you do, but does it better, right? He just plays a better macro PvP than a lot of Protosses out there, and he controls better. Take a look here at Neeb's face. It looks like he's almost, not scared or anything like that, but just like he's prepared for this so much, and you can see it on his face. Guys, let's jump into game number 1 of our first semifinal matchup, Neeb versus Stats.
갤럭틱 프로세스로 떠납니다.
Here we are on Galactic Process, Neeb's first map choice here in this best of 5. Up in the top right, the purple Protoss at his stats from KT Rolster.
His opponent down to the bottom left in green. The only foreigner left in this tournament, it is Neeb. Giving a smile to the camera. Neeb will have been the only player since Jinro to ever have made a round of 4 in a Korean StarCraft tournament. And if winning this, will be the first player in StarCraft 2 history ever to be in the grand finals of a StarCraft 2 tournament. Now, a lot of people are tweeting at me saying that IEF's Unicider won that tournament. That tournament was not a Korean tournament. It was a tournament held in Korea that had amateur pros from Korea. It's not the same thing, and no, it does not count. Even though it was held in Korea, it is not actually.
Yeah, that
doesn't count.
That does not count.
It's just it was just a tournament that was hosted in Korea.
What is this? I want you for the Stats Army. He's wearing a Santa hat as well. At the nearest recruiting nexus, you guys can sign up if you want to join the Stats Army. I want to join the Stats Army then.
Well, I would join right away. I don't have a form right now though. I'll have to go.
Yeah.
I'll have to go after the cast.
You got to go to the nearest recruiting nexus for that one.
Yes.
If you want to join the army.
Let's see what style Stat shows us here. I feel part of the downfall for Zest in his Protoss vs. Protoss series against Neeb was that he constantly attacked. He went for aggressive builds. And Neeb sustained little to no damage in both games he played against Zest. So Zest was just naturally behind because he invested into attempting to get damage, and Neeb shut it down hard in both games. Everything he tried, Warp Prism harass, Oracle harass, any type of play he threw at Neeb in the early game, Neeb shut it down and then had a better late game. He also had the better late game decision making, the better faster tech, and the better control. Stats, I think, is going to be a different beast entirely though once we get that mid game. And he is not going to waste resources trying to break Neeb, especially after studying his play. We're going to have an exchange here in the middle of the map with Shades here. Ooh, looks like he accidentally canceled one here. Stats did, so Neeb getting the better trade.
And Neeb is actually ahead, so he's going to get to the base of Stats first. And I like what you were saying. You know, this is going to be a straight-up PvP. We're going to get to see actually who is the better player. It's a best of 5. It's not a best of 1. It's not a best of 3. And, you know, when you get to best of 5, best of 7 level, you really get to see who is the better player. And we're going to find out tonight who's better, Neeb or Stats. Stats, of course, going to cancel that Shade.
Yep. Neeb is going to do a little bit of a follow-up. Shade should cancel his as well. Oh, he's actually going to commit for harassing here. Targets down this pro, but Stats is microing it away. This may have been an overcommitment here. He's going to lose an Adept very likely and will not even get that probe. Okay, does get the probe just barely.
He really wanted that probe. Not sure if it was worth it. I mean, look at this. The Adept's going to catch Neeb's Adept in the middle of the map as well. And even if it doesn't kill it, it is going to do a bit of health damage. So the trade is 1.5 Adepts for a probe. Was it worth it? I'll leave that up to you guys. I don't think it was.
Think so. Definitely not. But he didn't know that that setup was going to be like that. The committal to the Shade, was definitely something he could have avoided. He started off with a better trade versus Stats, so they end up being pretty even. Stats only slightly ahead. Now Stats got a Stargate. But he hasn't yet decided to use that. Okay, he's going to start a little bit of a delayed Oracle here. Back at home, Neeb had his Robo scouted, and we'll be going into a Blink-oriented build. Now, we saw Zest try to use Oracles against Neeb already once before to very little success. Now, Neeb is actually going to commit to a little bit of harass here with these Adepts. It's going to be hard to find damage, though, as Stats has a pylon in position here, and also get into the top of the ramp. All he needs to do is chase the Shades.
Yeah. It's kind of interesting to see what Neeb is doing, you know. He picks Galactic Process first, and he's kind of almost playing an SOS style. He can't commit here, but I thought what he was going to do is maybe split 2 and 2, like get 2 in the main and 2 in the natural, and just commit super heavily to the harass. And even if he loses his Adepts, he's saying, okay, Galactic Process, a really big map, I can do harassment damage and get away with it because it's so big and he can't counterattack me. This is kind of interesting. Stats going for the damage on the Adepts instead of any kind of economic damage. He kills 2 of the Adepts with that Oracle.
This Phoenix is also going to possibly catch this Warp Prism. Okay, he does see it. He's going to do a lot of damage to this Prism right now. In fact, there's no Stalkers nearby. He's got Blink on the way. But this really will hurt the push that Neeb was trying to go for here. Photon Overcharge will ward away this Oracle meanwhile. And so far in this first game, it's not the dominant performance we've seen versus Zest by Neeb. Now a transition to Immortals back at home for both players. This Blink is about to finish. He may be able to snipe this Oracle if he can get a good Blink off.
It's close. And look at this, too. Neeb going for a pretty early third, but Stats does scout it. Is Stats going to go for his own third? He does have the minerals. Looks like he is going to drop that down. So, guys, we're playing on Galactic Process, game number 1. We're going into a macro game. And as I said before, we're going to see who's the better player. So far, Stats getting the very slight lead in this game.
Yeah, very, very slight indeed. He also has the faster +1 here. And the lack of Twilight tech, not really a problem. As you can see, the blink from Neeb, his commitment to that Twilight Council, that tech, he hasn't even blinked once this entire game, so clearly hasn't gotten him any value, whereas the Resonating Glaives upgrade for stats starts at the identical timing for Neeb here. He has the faster +1, and I believe he's one Immortal ahead in build time as well. Looks like Neeb just didn't even make a second one, so it's going to be one Immortal up here, getting the faster Templar Archives. And even though Neeb, I think, may feel this base is early, Stats got his just a moment later. So realistically, about in every way, Stats is ever so slightly ahead, just slightly.
And that's what Neeb was talking about in his interview. They're going to do the same thing. They're both macro Protosses at heart, but Stats is going to do it slightly better than you will. And that's what we're seeing here in this game. And, you know, I don't want to question the pick of Galactic Process first because they were going to have to play it eventually anyway, but we didn't see anything too special out of Neeb on this map, and it is one of these big macro maps, and if he was scared about Stats doing something better in terms of macro, this is probably not the map you want to start with. Maybe you want to pick Frozen Temple or something, you know, a bit shorter if you want to go for something more cheesy, but then again, Neeb is not really that type of player, so we'll see if he can catch up here slightly. He is making 5 pylons at a time, kind of an interesting choice, but very even for now.
This scout right here is huge. You will see the Templar Archives is coming up now, which means he knows there's a window where Neeb does not have Archons, period, at all. He's not going to have them. He knows he has Archons, and so he's moving across the map here to attack. He doesn't have a massive surplus of gas now. That's a nice observer pickoff. This does allow Neeb, of course, to see this. But I don't know if he saw Neeb's Disruptor tech. However, has Neeb even started Disruptor production? We know the production tab open right now. Okay, It is halfway done. So he's going to need that tech to defend if Stats commits to an attack.
He did see the Robotics Bay actually finishing with that hallucination. So Stats does know that Disruptors should be on the map before, you know, by the time he gets to the base of Neeb. He's going to start a 4th base instead of going for any kind of attack. He actually totally backs off. He is in position now to defend that 4th base. Neeb delaying that 4th base a bit. Looks like he wants to go for some harassment first.
Yeah, he'll be the first player really to commit to doing so in this game, but Stats has already correctly predicted this, is getting Phoenixes ready, and they should be able to shut down any Prism that comes his way, especially with their positioning right now. If he goes to the main, it'd be basically impossible to even unload Adepts into the main base because these Phoenixes will shut them down. All right, Cannon already doing some damage. He's going to drop here at the 3rd base instead. Unfortunately, with a Photon Cannon and 2 Photon overcharges, this will do no damage. Meanwhile, the Oracle does get caught and killed, but also scouts the 4th base coming up for Neeb. And it looks like we are going to go to Supreme late game on this map. If nothing changes soon, it's just simply going to be a maxed out composition versus composition, micro versus micro, Protoss versus Protoss, like the Wings of Liberty days of old.
It's really going to come down to the Disruptor micro versus the Phoenix micro. Oh, he catches this War Prism. He's going to have to drop out those Adepts. That War Prism is not going to survive. Stats not committing to any lifts just yet. Maybe he wants to save that energy for the Disruptor lifts a little bit later on. Neeb himself committing to his 2nd robotics facility as well, so making 2 Disruptors at a time, really committing to that tech. Whereas Stats, he did get Charge.
Yeah, and he's with Charge, he will be able to get on top of these Disruptors. It's very hard to actually use your Purification Novas versus Charge Zealots because the Zealots are on top of your army, which means you're going to do damage to yourself if you're trying to hit those Zealots that charge in. Building a building wall is the best thing you could do in this case, but I don't know if Neeb has really identified yet that it's going to be this big Charge Zealot attack. If he did, he would probably start making a gateway wall, sort of make some structure so that the Zealots, he would have to tear through that first.
Or make some more Archons. You know, as the Observer is pointing out, he needs Archons to deal with this large of a number of Zealots charging into his army. The Disruptor Purification Novas are going to have to be perfect. He does have these 2 pylons set up in a really nice location. And it is scouted here by Stats, so it looks like he wants to perhaps go from a different location. But coming back to this ramp once again, is he going to commit?
Looks like he might. Oh, the Novas come out before the Zealots can charge. So he does get some nice shots off here. Lifts going up on almost every single Disruptor here. Stats has so many Immortals still in the back. These lifts are superb. The Archons start to come in.
The Archons are really doing so much damage. Once the Disruptors are dropped, he does lift them once again, so no Purification Novas in this fight, but Neeb is actually going to win the fight.
He has the better ground army. His army is stronger. The Phoenixes lifted the Disruptors, but still he had the better position there. The Archons for Stats' army were at the back. They never got any damage done, and now the Shade completes. Stats needs to get out of here. He needs to get on the retreat. Neeb is going to warp in additional Stalkers for the chase, it looks like, as well. But his Zealot charge, you know, it didn't happen right away. The Zealots were blocked, they were caught. So that first Nova damaged all of the army. They had a lot of adepts to hit from the high ground. They were even on upgrades. There were just more ranged units in Neeb's army.
As we were saying, it really came down to the last hit, the control of the army here, and Purification Nova is coming out once again, but the lifts do go down. Neeb really once again on the attack here. Another lift here on the Disruptor.
Part of the problem with this comp is, oh, hold that thought. This is the charge Zealot power we're talking about versus Disruptors. These are getting caught again by Phoenixes. Decent hit there.
He's doing a lot of damage to all the Zealots, but those Zealots are dispensable. He's losing his Immortals. He's warping in only Stalkers as well. Kind of an interesting choice against 3 Immortals. 4 Immortals on the way.
I think that the Stalker choice is somewhat of a problem. Stalkers are more expensive than Zealots, but charged Zealots with good upgrades will beat them in a straight-up fight because they have charge. They can get on top of them. The Archons are there to support. I feel like warping in Adepts to combat the Zealot army would have been better, but now it's too late. I mean, now he's fighting Archons. Now the Stalkers make a lot more sense because he needs to outrange this heavy AoE, almost melee comp with the short range of these Immortals and Archons. The Disruptors need to be kept at the back, and the Stalkers can obviously keep the Phoenixes at bay as well. Here comes another shot.
He wants to get that War Prism. Is he going to commit? No, he kills us Phoenix here, and he does back off. The Phoenix is trying to get on top of those Disruptors. We'll see if they get the lifts.
Lifts coming down here. He needs to make sure that more Novas come down to fight this army. He's not able to fire a single one. Okay, here they come down. 3 of them, in fact, all of them canceled. And Stats is going to crush this Stalker-based army with Disruptors. Zealots coming in, and I think this will actually be game over for Neeb in this first match.
It's looking like the entire army on the run now. He's going to lose that 4th base, and Stats knows that he does have the advantage in this fight. The Disruptor's totally useless based off of the Phoenixes getting those lifts. And he's still on the chase here. Going to lift another Disruptor. Another one does go down, and GG! Stats taking game number 1. And, you know, we thought it was going to go a bit longer, but in a 13.5-minute game, just out-micring him there in that last fight.
His army was worth more because his Phoenixes stopped the high-tech, expensive units of Neebs from doing damage, from getting value, whereas his Archons got value every time, no matter what. And his big first warping of Stalkers to go for the counterattack, I feel like really hurt him because those Stalkers could not combat the charged Zealots. They have so much hit points, they get on top of the Stalkers, and if Zealots are allowed to hit Stalkers that can't kite, they win the fight, and they cost less money. And like you said, they're expendable, essentially. This allows him to make more Archons with his gas bank, use those in a follow-up fight, and he was reliant on these Disruptors that were simply lifted into the air by Phoenixes. And he had that first great fight. I feel maybe perhaps warping into depths would have been the better choice, but either way, we're going into game 2 now on Frost.
Another big map, and this is Stats' map choice. It was looking like a close game, as you were saying. Perhaps the warp-in of the Stalkers was not the right choice. Maybe he wanted to snipe those Phoenixes out of the air, but was not able to do so. Neeb, it looked like he was trying to figure out what was going on in the first game, but we got him on camera. We'll see if he can do a little bit better here in game number 2 on Frost.